Hello viewers. Today we discuss the intracranial hemorrhage. First part of intracranial hemorrhage is we are going to deal epidural hematoma. As name suggests, epidural hematoma is a extra axial hematoma in brain, but initially we are knowing about the anatomy of the scalp. What is scalp? Itself name is suggest scalp means S, C, A, L and P. This is the scalp. The scalp is a multi-layered structure with layers that can be defined by the word itself. Scalp. S means skin, C connective tissue, dense connective tissue, aponeurotic layer, Galea aponeurotica, L loose connective tissue, P pericranium. These are the layer. This is the uppermost layer known as skin. Then second is connective tissue. This is connective tissue. Third most is dense aponeurosis layer. Then loose areolar tissue and then pericranium just outside the bone, pericranium. Next, then we are going to the anatomy of the meninges. These are the number one, as you know, skin of scalp, then periosteum, then bone of skull. This is bone. Then beneath the bone there is a dura mater. Dura is a thick connective tissue layer, outermost layer of the brain. There are three layers of the meninges outside the brain. Number one is dura, then arachnoid mater, then pia mater. Itself name suggests dura. Dura means thick layer, thick dense layer. It itself two covering of dura. Number one is periosteal covering and number two is meningeal covering. Periosteal covering is almost densely adherent to the bone, beneath the bone, and meningeal layer is loose to the bone and it is adherent to the suture lines by the sutural ligaments. Beneath the meningeal layer, there is a arachnoid mater. This is arachnoid mater which is going inside. This is the layer which is meninges, dura, and this is the layer which is arachnoid layer. Arachnoid layer goes inside and there is a outpouching. This is arachnoid layer and this is last layer is pia mater. Pia mater is soft. Mater means mother. Pia means soft mother. Just like a adherent to the brain, outer side to the brain, this is pia mater. Pia mater is a very close to the brain, very soft and delicate structure. This all are the connective tissue structures. Now we are going further to cause of head trauma. Head trauma, mechanism of head trauma are blunt injury, motor vehicle collision. As you know, most of the accidents are causing blunt injury like assault and fall, penetrating injury, gunshot wound, stabbing, explosions. These are the major reason for the polytrauma or head injury. Then types of head trauma. What are the types of head trauma? Head trauma are closed head trauma and open head trauma. This is head trauma. Number एक closed head trauma, skull not compromised. It means skull not compromised and brain not exposed to the environment. This is closed head trauma. And another is open head trauma. Open head trauma, skull compromised and brain exposed to the environment. Now, types of head trauma are number one, superficial head injury. Number two, cranial head injury. Number 3 is brain injury. Now we're going to the superficial head injury. Superficial head injury are number 1 scalp injury like contusion, laceration, avulsion, hemorrhage. What is hemorrhage and what is hematoma? Basic difference is hemorrhage is still going bleeding. Continue bleeding known as hemorrhage, and organized bleed is known as hematoma. Number 2 cranial injury. Then it include fracture of skull like linear, depressed, open, impacted fractures or object inside the brain. Brain injury, as you know, direct and indirect brain injury. Direct in brain injury because of the impact to the brain causing direct brain injury, and indirect brain injury because of the primary brain injury. There is an insult in the brain because of hypoxia, circulation, decreased perfusion. There is a free radical which going to the damage the brain itself, which are causing secondary brain injuries. Now, epidural hematoma. As discussed today, we are going to discuss epidural hematoma. It is a collection of blood. What is the definition? It is a collection of blood between the periosteal space, between potential space. Potential space means there is no space between the two layers of dura. One is periosteal layer, second is meningeal layer. There is no there is no space, but there is a potential space. It is a collection of blood between the potential space that exists between the inner table of skull and the dura. Periosteal layer, as you know, extension of hematoma usually limited by the cross suture lines. Why? Because there is a sutural ligament where dura is densely adherent to the innermost periosteal layer, so it limits the extension of the epidural hematoma. Suture line owing to the light attachment of the dura at these locations. Continuation of the periosteal layer of the dura with the pericranium at the suture. So this is the potential space, and epidural hematoma is collection of blood between this potential space. Extradural hemorrhage. This is the bone. This is the dura mater, and this is collection of blood which is confined to the suture line here and here. This is sagittal suture, and there is a squamous suture. There is a confined extra axial collection of blood known as extra or epidural hematoma. Epidemiology, as you know, male female ratio is 4:1. It means male are more affected than the female. 4 times male are more affected. Most common age is 20 and 30 year of age is the most common age. These are the MCQ questions in exam regarding epidural hematomas. Most common cause are blunt trauma. Most common cause is blunt trauma. Skull fracture. Skull fracture. This is the most common cause of the epidural hematoma. Most common bone which is fracture during or causing extradural hematoma is temporal bone. You just hit the bone and it causing the temporal bone fracture, which is most commonly involve middle meningeal artery at foramen spinosum or its branches. Meningeal branch, anterior meningeal branch of middle meningeal artery. So most common bone is temporal bone fracture. Most common artery which is involved is middle meningeal artery. These all are the MCQ questions. Then pathophysiology of epidural hematoma. It results from brief linear contact force to the clavarium that causes separation of the periosteal layer, separation of the periosteal dura from the bone, and disruption of the interposed vessels due to the shearing stress. Skull fracture most commonly caused this type of pathophysiology and causing epidural hematoma or venous sinus bleed involved, which causing the extradural hematoma. The hematoma arises from injury to the middle meningeal artery in over half of the patients. In over half 50% of patients are because of the middle meningeal artery rupture or its branches. From the middle meningeal vein 1/3 and from the diploic vein or torn dural venous sinus from the remainder. Intracranial hemorrhages are just like as we discussed extradural hemorrhage, just outside the dura, just beneath the bone. This is extradural. Extradural means outside the dura but beneath the bone. This is extradural hematoma. Number 2, there is a subdural hemorrhage. Its name is suggest there is a beneath the dura. This is dura and this is the blood. It means collection of blood beneath the dura mater outside the arachnoid mater. This is subdural hematoma. But difference is it is not confined by the suture line. It is not limited by the suture line. So this is concavo-convex. This is surface convex. This is concavo. Whereas in extradural biconvex or lens shape extradural hemorrhage. Number 1. Number 3, there is a subarachnoid hemorrhage. Subarachnoid hemorrhage, just like name suggests, beneath the arachnoid mater and outside the pia mater. So this is the subarachnoid hemorrhage. Most common cause of subarachnoid hemorrhage is trauma and arterial bleed, aneurysm bleed. Most common because major arteries of the brain is floating in the CSF. So there is a no stress or no shearing force on the vessels and there is no bleed in without aneurysm or without trauma. There is no bleed in the subarachnoid space. So this is subarachnoid hemorrhage. Then these are the hemorrhage which is extraaxial hemorrhage. Number 1, extradural, subdural and subarachnoid. 3 hemorrhage are extraaxial because these are outside the brain. Then lobar, intracerebral hemorrhage. This is cerebral hemorrhage. This is beneath the pia mater and inside the gray matter of the brain. So this is lobar and this is intraaxial hemorrhage. Then intraventricular hemorrhage. This is the intraventricular, this is ventricle. Intraventricular hemorrhage most commonly because of bleeding disorders and continuation of the lobar or basal ganglia or thalamic bleed. Continuation of the intracerebral hemorrhage. Deep intracerebral hemorrhage, just like we know thalamus or basal ganglia bleed because of the raised BP, uncontrolled hypertension, and there is a other is Pons midbrain hemorrhage, brainstem hemorrhage. Then sign and symptom of brain injury. We discussed the sign and symptom in brief. Just altered mental status, patient may confuse, disoriented. Then altered orientation, patient is not oriented to time, place and person, alteration in personality because of frontal bone signs or maybe increased ICP, patient's personality is altered. Then amnesia, retrograde or antegrade. Retrograde means we not aware about the posterior events or past events, but we aware about the foregoing events. And in antegrade we are not aware. This is past event and this is future. After trauma we are not aware about the trauma and after trauma events. This is antegrade amnesia. Then if ICP is raised because of hemorrhage, there is a Cushing reflex. This is the again MCQ question. What is Cushing reflex? Cushing reflex is increased BP. Why BP is increased? BP is increased to compensate the perfusion of the brain because there is a hematoma when hematoma pressure increases the ICP, there is a compromise in perfusion of the brain. So BP is increased to perfuse the brain. So increase BP, number one. Number two, bradycardia. Why bradycardia? Bradycardia because of the increased BP, there is a baroreceptor in arch of aorta, which sense the about the BP increase or decrease. When BP is increased, baroreceptors are senses and send the information to vagal nerve. Vagal nerve then stimulate and it causes bradycardia. So number two is bradycardia. Number three, erratic respiration. Erratic respiration, why? Because of uncal herniation. There is on pressure on the midbrain and brain stem, and lastly brain stem is compromised and respiration is erratic. Maybe tachypnea, then decreased respiratory rate, then again. So it is the Cushing reflex, which is most commonly asked in MCQ exam. Then omitting. Why omitting? When ICP is raised, there is a ICP. When ICP raised, patient may omit to compensate the increase ICP. So patient is tachypnea, hyperventilate itself, and CO2 wash out. Brain is ICP is transiently decreased. So omitting. Omitting may be without nausea and projectile. Then body temperature changes because of hypothalamus, change in pupil reactivity. Why? Hematoma may cause firstly oculomotor nerve pressure. Oculomotor nerve when stimulate, then peripheral central parasympathetic fibers, so it causes iris dilatation, mydriasis of pupil, then pupil unequal, and then decorticate posture because of the herniation of the brain. And this is the classical picture of epidural hematoma, which is not present in every case, but this is the classical picture. Patient may complain of headache, nausea, and omitting. Patient with headache, nausea, and omitting, and most common level of consciousness, initial loss of consciousness. Initial loss of consciousness. First of all, consciousness initial, then lucid interval. Patient initially loss of consciousness, regain consciousness for days and weeks, and then again sleepiness, drowsiness, and loss of consciousness. This is known as lucid interval. This is lucid interval. So lucid interval is also a MCQ. Lucid interval is present in epidural hematoma. Then associated symptoms: ipsilateral dilated and fixed pupil. Ipsilateral dilated and fixed pupil because of the mydriasis of the parasympathetic fiber stimulation of the third cranial nerve, oculomotor. There is a mydriasis. Then sign of increased ICP, sign of increased ICP, headache, omitting, and Cushing reflex, increased BP, bradycardia, erratic respiration, and unconsciousness. Unconsciousness with contralateral paralysis because of uncal herniation. There is a opposite paralysis, and lastly, if not cured, then death may occur. This is the classical pattern of epidural hematoma. The dilated and non-reactive pupil, dilated and non-reactive pupil can be associated with ipsilateral hemiplegia also. Maybe with ipsilateral, but this is rare because of the indentation of contralateral. Write down, this is because of the contralateral cerebral peduncle by the edge of the tentorium cerebelli. This is the ipsilateral hemiplegia because of contralateral compression of cerebral peduncle due to tentorium cerebelli. This is known as Kern-Horn-Notch or Kern-Horn phenomena. This is false localizing sign. This is false localizing sign. Dilated and fixed, both pupil dilated and fixed, known as Hutchinson's pupil. These are the MCQ's questions. Then initially the pupil on the side of EDH, side where EDH is present, initially pupil of the side is contract due to the irritation of the oculomotor nerve, and opposite side of pupil will normal in size. In the next stage, ipsilateral pupil dilated because of paralysis of the oculomotor nerve and parasympathetic stimulation. Finally, both sides become dilated and fixed. Lucid interval, as you know, an epidural hemorrhage is often characterized by the following sequence. Number one, sequence of trauma, blow to the head, then followed by initial confusion, decreased consciousness or loss of consciousness. This is known as lucid interval. A lucid interval is present in 20 to 50% of case. As you know, this is the classical sign but not present in every case. So this is only present in 20 to 50% of case. A brief period of full consciousness, restored mental status, the patient seems back to his normal. Then second, go previously, first is initial confusion, then second is a full consciousness, again full conscious, and third is change in mental status, again unstable vital sign, BP, heart rate, and then patient become confused again and then comatose. This sequence of three events is known as lucid interval. Diagnosis. What are the diagnostic tools for EDH? Best and most commonly used diagnostic tool is plain CT head. If the clinical condition of patient permit and a non-contrast computerized computed CT possible, it must be done urgently. The classic CT appearance in 84% of case, classical CT appearance is hyperdense. What is hyperdense? Hyperdense is a white in plain CT. Hyperdense means it is comparative finding. It is comparatively hyperdense to the normal brain. Hyperdense and biconvex. This is most important. Biconvex lens shape. Biconvex lens shape. Generally, EDH is confined. EDH is limited to the suture line within the sutures, but this may not be the case every time. Occasionally, air may be seen within the hematoma due to an associated internal or external compound fracture of the skull. Why? Because of the compound fracture. Air may be seen. Pneumocranium may be associated because of the fracture, which is compound to the environment. Maybe internal. Internal where? Because of the from the frontal sinus, sphenoid sinus, ethmoid sinus, or maybe outside. MRI also be done, but it is no way superior to CT because of this is time consuming. And angiography can be used rarely, I again say rarely, can be used to evaluate non-traumatic cause. Why? For non-traumatic cause. Because maybe AVM or other type of anomaly in vessels to see the anomaly of EDH. Rarely angiography can be demonstrated middle meningeal artery laceration and contrast extravasation from the middle meningeal artery into paired middle meningeal vein known as the tram-trach sign. This is tram-trach sign. Now, this picture showing extradural hematoma. This is extradural hematoma. This is biconvex, hyperdense. This is compared to hyperdense compared to brain, normal brain. So this is a hyperdense biconvex lens shape extradural hematoma. Again, there is a lens shape right occipital lobe extradural hematoma. Complete diagnosis is number 1, side. What is side? Right. Number 2, where? Parietal. Right parietal. Number 3, what is this? Extradural hematoma. Number 4, with midline shift. And mass effect. Mass effect, why? There is no sulci and gyri patterns are visualized ipsilaterally and contralaterally. So there is a mass effect. This is the complete diagnosis of this type of picture. Right parietal acute extradural hematoma with midline shift and mass effect. Here complete diagnosis is right occipital acute EDH with mass effect but no midline shift. Comparison of EDH and SDH. Incidence: SDH is more common in fatal trauma cases because EDH is less fatal than the SDH. And etiology, there is a fracture and there is a tearing of cortical veins. Because of trauma, there is a tearing of cortical veins where there is a majority are arterial bleed, there is a majority are venous bleed. Then side, this is the between the skull and dura, where is it between the dura and arachnoid. Then it cross dura but not suture, where is crosses suture. And this is biconvex lens shape, this is crescentric concavo convex. There is a this is normal city where you can't appreciate any extradural subarachnoid subdural hemorrhage, but here you can appreciate the extradural hematoma, convex shape, hyperdense to the brain, midline shift, mass effect, left temporal parietal acute extradural hematoma in NCCT head. This is the classical representation of the hemorrhages of in intracranial, just like this is bone, this is bone, this is dura, this is arachnoid, this is pia. These are the classical picture. Up now there is a extradural hematoma where this may present here between the bone and the dura. So there is a this is extradural hematoma between the bone and dura mater. This is extradural hematoma. Clear? Then subdural hematoma. As you know, this is bone, this is dura, this is arachnoid, and there is a bleed. This is subdural hemorrhage because of beneath the dura mater, and this may cross the suture line, and this is convex concavo. So crescent shape. Clear? Next, there is a subarachnoid hemorrhage. as name explain itself, subarachnoid means sub, beneath the arachnoid. So this is arachnoid, this is arachnoid, and there is a full of bleed in arachnoid because of arterial bleed, aneurysm bleed. This is the subarachnoid hemorrhage. Then intraaxial hemorrhage is ICH, intracranial hematoma. It is present inside the brain, gray or white matter inside the brain. This is ICH. Then IVH, there is a bleed in ventricle. This is the bleed in ventricle. Then contusion. This is the contusion. What is the difference between contusion and ICH? In ICH, there is not involvement of pia mater or not lacerated the pia, but in contusion you are found that there is a involvement of the pia mater also. So this is contusion. This is contusion. Non-contrast CT showing again left side EDH. Now you are well aware about the biconvex hyperdense lesion in plain CT showing known as extradural hematoma. And in this CT there is a left temporoprontoparietal large hyperdense lesion with midline shift. This is midline, but this is shifted. So this is a midline shift. Ipsilateral, here is a contralateral ventricle, but here is not ventricle. So mass effect, midline shift, left side hyperdense lesion, large and crescent shape, convex concavo. So it is subdural hematoma, and it also is crossing the suture lines, not limited. So this is subdural hematoma. This is hemorrhagic contusion involving pia mater, and this is intracerebral hemorrhage, and here also a acute subdural hematoma. Head trauma, we evaluate the patient. General in head trauma patients, first we go for the initial assessment, then rapid trauma examination, then patient agitation limited by straining to elevate ICP. Then first of all we go for airway, vomiting very common, so first hour endotracheal intubation, antiemetic, and if any object is found in the oral cavity, then we remove it. So first of all we manage airway. ABCD, as name itself, A, airway with cervical spine protection. Then B, breathing and ventilation. So if you require intubate patient and you require attach the ventilator, don't hesitate about the endotracheal intubation. And if not possible, you go for tracheostomy. Then C, circulation with hemorrhage control. You control the hemorrhage by suturing or compressive bandage and give IV fluid to maintain the circulation. Then D, disability or neurological status. Then you examine the patient for disability and neurological status. And last, you complete expose the patient and evaluate about the trauma in respect to whole body, not for only head trauma. Then neurological assessment. Rapid neurological examination, first you go for level of consciousness. If patient is conscious oriented, then you go for higher mental function, then power, then tone, then cerebellar sign. But if patient is drowsy or unconsciousness, then go for pupil examination. Pupil is equal, normal, bilaterally or unequal anisocoria, or pupil dilated, non-reacting, go for pupil examination. Then extraocular movements go for both eye are conjugate in direction or opposite in direction movements. Then fundus examination, extremity movements, when go for painful stimulus to the patient, then patient respond accordingly, flexor response, extensor, try to localize or localize, go for response to pain. Then deep tendon reflex and plantar and brain stem reflex. If patient is not responding, then go for the brain stem reflex calorie test and nystagmus test. Then Glasgow-Coma scale. What is the Glasgow-Coma scale? Glasgow-Coma scale originally invented for the nursing staff and paramedicals. So they are examine the patient and inform to the doctors. So initially this is Glasgow-Coma score is very useful to the neurological status of the patient. It having 0 to 15 points, 4 points for eye, 5 points for verbal response, and 6 points go for the motor response. And you calculate for the best response which is responding to the painful stimuli. Best response, not least, best response. Eye opening, if spontaneous eye opening, then score is 4. If eye opening to voice command, score is 3. If eye opening to painful stimuli, score is 2. And if no eye opening to pain, score is 1. Verbal response, patient is conscious, oriented, score is 5. And age patient deteriorated, score is going to low. If confused, then 4. Inappropriate words are speaking, then score is 3. Only incomprehensive sound is there, score is 2. And patient no verbal response, then score is 1. Not a 0, 1. List is 1, maximum is 5. Then motor response is patient obey command, 6 score. If localizing, then 5. Withdrawal to pain, 4. If abnormal flexion, this is abnormal flexion. This is known as decorticate posturing to pain. Abnormal flexion, this is decorticate posture. This is abnormal flexion. Then abnormal extension, score is 2. This is decerebrate. This is decerebrate posture. Score is 2. And no movement is 1. Then maximum score is 4 plus 5 plus 6. 4 plus 5 plus 6 is equal to 15. GCS 15 is maximum, and minimum score is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. Minimum score is 3, maximum score is 15. Then pupil. What are the feature you seen in the patient after trauma? Best possible is the pupil are picturized here. If both pupil are dilated, these are dilated pupil, both dilated. If this is non-reactive, this is brain stem injury. Both are dilated, non-reactive pupil, brain stem. If reactive pupil, often reversible injury. If unequal means this is dilated and this is constricted. Anisocoria means there is any space occupying lesion, maybe a hematoma, maybe a SOL. Where is ipsilateral side initially? This is anisocoria. Then eyelid closure, you go for eyelid closure. This is normal eyelid closure, normal eyelid closure. This is small. If slow, then cranial nerve third palsy, or fluttering, then hysteria. So you diagnose with eyelid closure also. Unilaterally dilated pupil. This is unilateral dilated pupil. Unilateral dilated, reactive, then ICP increase. It is indicative for ICP is increasing. Non-reactive, unilateral dilated, write down, unilateral dilated with non-reactive with altered LOC, loss of consciousness, then it is clearly indicated increase ICP. But if non-reactive but normal LOC, no loss of consciousness, patient is conscious, unilaterally dilated and non-reactive, not from head injury, maybe drug induced. Initial management, as we discussed, airway, cervical, circulation, then saline for hypertonic saline to improve the cerebral perfusion pressure and brain tissue oxygen level. It decreases 35%. In 35% case, it decreases ICP also. Then mannitol. Mannitol is clearly contraindicated in extradural hematoma. It is only used in subdural intracerebral hemorrhages. It is osmotic agent, effect ICP lowering, increase cerebral blood flow, increase cerebral perfusion pressure, and free radical scavenger also. It reduces ICP within 30 minutes, lasts for 6 to 8 hours. So it give in repeated dose. Volume expansion reduces hypotension and dose is 0.5 to 1 gram per kilogram bolus. Barbiturate coma, anticonvulsant for prophylactic measures and ICP monitor if traumatic brain injury and GCS is less than 9. Conservative management of extradural hematoma. What are the indications for conservative management? You well know about this. So you can judge the patient. It will be managed conservatively or you go for surgical intervention. Conservative management GC score is more than 8. Number 1. No pupillary abnormality. Attention that there is no anisocoria, no pupillary abnormality. Number 3, hematoma volume is less than 30. Hematoma volume is less than 30 ml in supratentorial and less than 15 ml in posterior fossa EDH. Write down, less than 15 ml in posterior fossa EDH, less than 15 ml. Midline shift less than 5 mm in CT scan, less than 5 mm. Then you go for conservative. No active bleeding, no swell sign in CT scan, no neurological deficit. Patient having no neurological deficit with less than 30 ml volume and midline shift less than 5 mm. And surgical management, you go for surgical management is number 1, GCS score less than 9 or note down, rapidly deteriorating GCS. Initially you go examine the patient having GCS 14, but sudden or rapidly deteriorating GCS 11, 10, 9, then go for the surgical management. Pupillary abnormality, anisocoria. When you see unequal pupil, ipsilateral dilated and opposite is normal or constricted. Hematoma volume more than 30 ml. Hematoma is large, then you go for evacuation. Hematoma thickness more than 15 mm in CT scan. Thickness is also depends. If it is more than 15, then go for evacuation. Midline shift more than 10 mm. 10 mm, more than 10 mm thick midline shift, you go for surgical intervention. And active bleeding, swell sign. Swell sign in CT scan is in extradural hematoma, there is a hyperdense lesion, but active bleeding is seen as hypodense in between the acute EDH. This is swirl sign. Then presence of any neurological deficit. Neurological deficit itself indication for the surgical evacuation. Then surgical treatment, you go for urgent craniotomy and evacuation of hematoma with hitch stitch. Hitch stitch, why hitch stitch? Hitch stitch go for the take the dura and to the periosteum. So there is no separation and there is no potential space for the accumulation of the blood or collection of blood in emergency surgery. Prognostic marker of the extradural hematoma. What is the prognostic marker? Number one, low GCS score. If patient come to you with low GCS score, then prognosis is poor. Pupil abnormality. If patient present with pupil abnormality and post-op also pupil is abnormal, prognosis is poor. You can say age more than, of course, more the age, more the poor prognosis of the patient. Delayed presentation. This is the more important. Patient, when patient come to you in 1 hour, 6 hour, or after 4 days, 2 days, when patient already herniated. So it is the prognosis. If duration increase, prognosis poor. If duration decrease, prognosis increase. This is the relation. Hematoma volume more than 30, large hematoma, large chance of the infarct post-operative in CT scan. Midline shift, more the chance of infarct, PCI infarct. So prognosis poor. Active bleeding, you see the CT scan, prepare for the patient for OT. Meanwhile, active bleeding also causes more volume of hematoma, more chance of herniation. Associated injury in brain, maybe contusion, subdural hematoma in opposite side. These are also the poor prognostic marker, and associated comorbid condition in each and every case. Thanks.